The Barbie movie is awful. It's full of lies and it has an agenda. Well, I mean, that's kind of what they want you to believe. However, in this video, we're gonna be debunking and dismantling all of the lies and blatant disinformation going around about the Barbie movie. My name's Eric, welcome to the channel, and careful for spoilers, we're gonna talk about Barbie. So there's three main things I keep hearing from the critics of the Barbie movie. And by critics, I mean conservatives, pretend conservatives, and bad faith actors. You know, the people that complain about everything and aren't really telling the truth about this stuff. And the three things I keep hearing them complain about are a trans agenda, a gay agenda, and feminism. And from that feminism comes in this idea that the movie hates men. And the reality is, none of that is true. Let's start with the first one, the whole trans agenda, having this trans representation in the movie, and it's such a big deal in the film. The reality is, yes, there's a trans actress in the Barbie movie. However, I have seen the movie, and I don't remember any big storyline about this Barbie being trans, because they're dolls. They're literally human, life-size dolls. To be quite honest, there's not a lot about any of their personal lives in this film because they're dolls. And even though the supporting cast of Barbies do get fun dialogue, it doesn't go very deep for any of these characters. They're just there to represent the different aspects of what Barbie is and what these dolls could actually mean to the people who are playing with them. Matter of fact, her Barbie is a Dr. Barbie, and that's literally the main component of this character in the movie. And that's the great thing about seeing a lot of marginalized people in the film. They're just existing and living in this world, and it's something that a lot of people have said they wanted to see when it comes to movies. So unless you just hate trans people simply existing and living in the world, there should be no reason for you to be upset about this Barbie. You get what I'm saying there? You understand that? I do want to point out, I don't think there would be any problem with giving a Barbie doll some sort of a trans story in the movie, but it's very disingenuous and just an outright lie for a lot of these content creators and people on the internet to claim there's some huge trans messaging in the movie, because it just isn't there. It's simply oppression and trans panic over absolutely nothing. But shout out to Hari Neff for playing this character. It was really good to see a trans Barbie in the film, something that you probably would have only known about had you been reading and looking at the promotion for the movie. Which, by the way, obviously the promotion worked because the movie is doing massively well. The next thing I want to talk about is the gay agenda in the movie. They would have you believe that the movie is just some massive gay film with a lot of gay stuff happening in the movie. And in reality, it's not. I want to point out that gay people never identified with Barbie because Barbie represented some sort of gay messaging. They identified with Barbie because of Barbie. And Barbie in itself doesn't need to have gay messaging for gay people to want to go see the film. Sure, they could have done more stuff in the movie, but literally there wasn't anything in the movie to me that was blatantly gay. There were jokes, there was humor, but it was all tongue in cheek, which was pretty much everything in this movie. So unless you as a viewer somehow connect Barbie with gay culture, gay community, there's no way you could look at this movie and be like, there's so much gay stuff in it. Because there isn't. And it's not really necessary. I mean, it just isn't. Barbie is a character that the gay community has identified with for a very long time that just doesn't need anything extra. So if you're keeping track there, that means that the trans stuff in the movie is limited to simply a character in the movie being portrayed by a trans actress. And the gay stuff in the movie is just non-existent. It's just not there unless you're looking extremely deep and making connections that most gay people just were not making with the movie. Let's talk about the last one, which is the idea of this movie is a feminist movie that hates men. And yes, some of the humor and jokes in the movie may be geared towards that direction, but by the end of the movie, when we get down to like what the movie represents, if you watch it all the way through and you're paying attention, the movie isn't necessarily about the patriarchy or feminism. The movie is about individuality and human beings. It's about gender and identity and all of these other things being a construct. The idea of what masculinity is being something that is taught to you and not something that is inherent to you as a person. The same thing when it comes to femininity or the values that women are supposed to put out there in the world. Those things are all constructed, and the movie's idea of that is, look, these things are things we don't have to be. By the end of the movie, both Barbie and Ken understand that their individuality, who they want to be as a person, is up to them and not what society expects them to be. Ken doesn't need to be this hyper masculine dude bro character unless he wants to. And if he wants to, he can be, but that doesn't define who he is as a person. And the same thing with Barbie. And here's spoilers for the end of the movie. Barbie decides that she doesn't want to be an ideal, this thing, this toy that people look up to and say, this is what I have to be. She decides that she wants to be her own person and no longer represent that at all. And at the end of the day, that is the messaging of the movie. You start out the movie with everybody playing a certain role, things that they have to be. And then by the end of the movie, you have characters who are able to make decisions for themselves and go, I don't want to be any of those things. So this idea of what the patriarchy represents, what femininity represents, what all of that represents is all based on society. And you nor I have to play that game. And that's what the movie represents. It doesn't hate anybody. It's empowering for everyone. And for me, this is what Barbie has always represented as a brand, the ability that anyone can be anything. And that is the messaging in the movie. So unless you hate the idea of people being individuals and having agency over what they want to do in their own lives, there should be no problem with the messaging in this movie. I also want to remind you that humor is subjective and not every single joke is going to land. But just because you don't like a joke doesn't mean that it doesn't work in the movie or that it's not valid. And lastly, before I wrap this up, another small criticism I keep hearing is that the movie is not good for small children. The movie is PG-13, which means it could include things like violence, nudity, adult activities, adult language, sensuality, all of those things are allowed in a PG-13 movie. So virtue signaling about it being not good for little children is irrelevant. The movie was classified at PG-13. So if you have an issue with that, you should take that up with the classification system and not the movie, because the movie was allowed to cover any and all of that in the movie if they wanted to, because it was PG-13. Look, to be honest, I didn't expect Barbie to cover so many heavy subjects in the movie, but it did, and it did an amazing job. And Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling were great in this movie. So anybody saying any of those things about this movie either did not see the movie or did not understand what the movie was about, or they're just outright lying about what is in the film. The idea of being an individual and making your own decisions is paramount in this film. So I'm telling you, as someone that has seen the movie, make your own decisions on whether or not you want to see it. But if you're looking for a recommendation, my recommendation is go and see this film. I think it's a great movie for this year, and it's gonna make a ton of money whether you or I don't go see it first or second time. It's just doing really well. So yes, stay away from the channels that are saying that. If you've seen a channel or a creator saying those things, just matter of fact, they are lying to you. 100%, just outright lies, complete falsehoods. Run far away from that.